Hey guys.
So today we're finally back after a very long summer break with another podcast episode about the Kabbalion.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know me, I'm Sarah Fleur. My friend is Pixie Dust.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's go.
Okay. All right, guys. So today's video is going to be on the seventh principle, which is the principle of gender in the Kabbalion. Which again, just to show everybody, it is this book right here by the three initiates. So we're just going to be talking about the principle of gender today, but I feel like there's kind of a lot that we could say without going into like too long of a video. So I'll just start out with like the quote that they have right here underneath the principle of gender, the number 7. So, or the seventh principle. So it says, gender isn't everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. So let me say that one more time. So gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. So, I guess I'll get started on that a little bit. So my first thing that came to mind when I read this chapter was the video that I did on twin flames, and a long time ago, it was like a couple years ago probably now, and in that video I really discussed how, you know, the quote unquote divine masculine can be in a female's body, and how, you know, the divine feminine can be in a masculine body. You know, it just really has to do with like the energy that you're putting out and stuff. So it's not strictly male and female, but that also being said, you're not only divine masculine if you're female or male or whatever. Like, we all do have both of those traits. You know, everybody has masculine and feminine characteristics, I guess, more or less, and some are heavier than others. You know, some can be more masculine and or more feminine. And then, you know, like they say in this quote, it goes, your gender is in everything, like plants, animals.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, even our minds, you know, have associated color with genders, like, you know, blue for boys and pink for girls, which whatever, like, it's, I feel like color is a little more gender neutral, but you know, but that's just how our minds work. Our minds work in this way where we associate a gender to things. And that's, I feel like, also why transgender and non-binary people are so controversial and misunderstood, because
Yeah.
aren't aligning, you know, non-binary people specifically don't align with either gender. So it's like, okay, well, what does that mean? You know, people don't understand it, are like, are you kidding me? Like, what's in between your legs? You know, all that. So just to point out, I feel like humanity, like, is kind of, I don't know, this is kind of something I wanted to talk about with you today. Like, we can go into this a little bit more first too, but it's interesting because I feel like humanity is almost trying to not get rid of gender, but like redefine it maybe.
Yeah.
Even,
It's confusing to me too, because it's, oh God, and I feel like this, who, depending on who sees us today, is almost going to attack us. Like, we can't say it wrong, but this is really about energy, if anything, like,
yes.
and nature as positive. Well, actually, it reminds me of the temperatures thing.
Yeah.
Remember, like hot and cold, like, but in the end, it's also a spectrum. And now in nature, we have feminine, masculine, and energy-wise, there's definitely such a thing as masculine and feminine energy. And yeah, so I just think that anything in the universe is about balance. You know, to have balance, we always need these two opposite poles. So there we go with gender, you know, and yeah,
exactly. And like you said, it is a spectrum, you know, so hopefully nobody will get mad at us for whatever, and if they do, you know, that's fine, whatever. But it is a spectrum, you know, so it's not strictly like male and strictly female or masculine and feminine. It's like masculine and feminine with like greater degrees maybe down here, and then, you know, lesser degrees of it here merging into the other one. So it all relates, you know. There's not like one set gender. Oh, obviously, because
Well,
it's a
let's say it this way, because now we might get attacked from the other side again. Maybe there is on a physical level, obviously, there is either male or female, like it is in nature. But talking about energy, because you know me, I always love to talk about energy. It's actually interesting because like let's pull aside this controversial trans topic, but let's just look up let's just look at energy. And all of us have feminine, masculine energy, regardless if we're a woman or man. So, and for example, if I think of relationships, you know, a regular heterosexual relationship, if the woman is in her masculine energy, the man is in his feminine energy, it's not going to work out. Like, this is what causes drama and things to not flow. So, but for example, the way that society is right now, I feel like I'm getting away totally from this like spiritual occult topic, and this is more like sociology now, but
you can tie it back in, it's okay.
look, our society has changed because you women, like the man, like back in nature, like the male, and I'm saying male on purpose because I'm also thinking of animals, you know, it's like the female watches the kids in the nest,
right, and the male provides,
or whatever animals they are, or even us back in the day, you know.
yeah,
There's men or male are hunters, and then women or female watches the kids.
yeah,
Also, the
exactly.
man could have multiple families, but like women could only have one because she has all these kids to watch. And
right.
our society has changed, and women, but it's really only in the last century, if we're being honest, that women really started like working and stuff, and not just being stay-at-home moms. But that why I'm going there is because us as women, that work, like being in a work environment requires us to be in our masculine energy, you know, and certain traits are masculine traits, you know, and all this like competition, and you know what I mean, that's masculine energy. So when we are like ambitious and do our thing, that's then actually we're being in our masculine energy. But then when we bring that home to relationships, it causes issues. You know what I mean? At least when it's a man and a woman in a relationship.
Yeah, there can be an imbalance. And I feel like by issues, you're not necessarily meaning like divorce or breaking up, but just issues. Yeah. And so just to kind of tie this back into the Kabbalion a little bit, it does say, so on this little passage about gender, it says, you know, on the physical plane, this principle manifests as sex, right? So there, we go back to that. And then on the higher planes, it takes higher forms, but the principle is ever the same, right? So, you know, we could be talking about the humans that embody this energy or the animals that embody this energy, but it's still the same energy. And I feel like as humans have evolved and as women have kind of like, you know, grown into their masculine powers by working and by, you know, by taking these stands and like even being able to vote and stuff, like they're almost elevating like the bottom of the spectrum a little bit, you know, like it's not like it's maybe it's I could be wrong on this, you know, I don't like they are entering their masculinity, but it's not taking away their femininity, like it's still there, you know, they're just kind of like shifting in the spectrum a little bit.
Oh, a question for you, because since I was talking about this man and women thing, but obviously a lot of people are, you know, man and man can be together or women and women, but I think it's even the same there because there's always someone in the relationship, even if they're the same sex, that one is in their feminine energy and the other one is in the masculine energy, just for balance, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, in my experience, yes, you know, and you know, just to go into like a little bit of like personal my personal life, you know, my relationships like with women have been, you know, I'm usually the more masculine one, but I'm not I don't physically appear very masculine. Like I'm pretty small, and I have long hair and I wear
Right.
makeup and stuff, but mentally, I'm usually the one with the mindset more of like I need to provide or something, or can't be the one that's like out there hunting, so to speak. Not to say
Interesting.
though that the other person can't be, because there are times where I feel like I'll fall back into my like femininity, and I'm like, I want to be taken care of,
Yeah.
um, rather than be the caretaker. So I feel like as long as there is that balance, so I feel like it can back like fluctuate. Because I get asked this like kind of not a lot, but I've been asked before, like how do you know which one's the guy or whatever? And it's like, well, you just kind of feel it, you just kind of fall into place with it. And then if it's a good relationship, or you balance each other nicely, then when one person is, I feel like, feeling you know less masculine, then the other person might be balancing it out by feeling the opposite, or not feeling but experiencing, just having
Mhm.
that energy. So, and same with gay couples, and even like uh like the queer couples, I guess, with non-binary people and transgender, like it's the same, because it's not about your sex, it's about um the energy that you are bringing into the relationship, and
Mhm.
the energy that you feel within yourself. um
That makes sense.
yeah, yeah. So it's like difficult to understand when you're not, like if you are heterosexual or something, and you obviously never find yourself in a in a homosexual relationship. You can be like, well, how does that work? But it's the same thing. It's just some with heterosexual, there's usually less questioning of like, well, I don't know if I want to say that, but you're not necessarily like figuring out like your identity as much. I mean, maybe you are, but just not in terms of your sexuality, like
Yeah.
if you're secure in it. um but I don't want to get too much into like sexuality and all that, but it does still relate to gender and energetically. And I feel like
Yes.
that's kind of where human
A
minds
lot.
go in general when they hear the word gender, and the masculine and feminine. Like everybody thinks sex, because we are on the physical plane, and that's where it's most manifested. Um, but I want to get into a little bit of mental gender. So, this chapter in the back where
Mhm.
it goes into the mental gender. Let me just read this little section here. So it says, the masculine principle of mind corresponds to the so-called objective mind, conscious mind, voluntary mind, active mind, etc., etc., etc. Corresponds to the subjective mind. So involuntary mind, the more passive mind, etc. So
Yeah.
when it comes to mental gender, that's kind of the categories that it falls into. Um, and did you want to go into anything on that at all?
Yeah, actually, I think we missed, because we got into the society thing that I started talking about. I think we missed one
Okay.
part that like the gender thing talks about, and that's important to understand. The mental gender thing is that feminine energy is receiving, and the masculine energy is like the driving one. So, and that relates to but it's important to know that in order to understand the mental gender thing. And also, as the feminine energy is, it's explained somewhere. And also there's this other book that I really think we should podcast about. It's called Initiation to Hermetics. I think I told you about it. And there's also a chapter of the principle that explains exactly that the masculine, and that they're they make a difference between being electric and magnetic, and the feminine energy is also the magnet. It's like the magnet. It's the negative pole. And I mean, the chameleon said that too. I just can't find where it said that.
Yeah.
It's like the negative pole.
Yeah.
It's the one that attracts the other one, the masculine. So
Yeah.
now if we go into the mental gender one, same thing, if you understand that the masculine energy is also driving force, then it makes sense that it's the objective and feminine mental gender
Yes.
is more the passive receiving and all of that.
The more influential or influenced one. Yeah. I'm trying to find that here too. Let's see. So, yeah, okay, right here. So it says the tendency of the feminine principle is always in the direction of receiving impressions, while the tendency of the masculine principle is always in the direction of giving out or expressing. And they do say somewhere, I can't find it in here, but that the feminine is associated with the negative energy and the masculine is associated with the positive energy.
But guys, side note, don't understand this wrong. We don't mean negative as in like bad, negative as in the minus pole if you think of a battery. That's
exactly. Yeah.
Not negative as in bad.
Right. It takes two, in order to fully function. Like you can't have one without the other. Just like going back to how that's manifested on the physical plane, like you can't, women can't have babies by themselves. Like they need the masculine come in there and complete the process.
Same again. There, the woman is the receiver, and the man gives his, how do I say,
seed.
An appropriate way that doesn't get flexed.
He shares his.
He's the man giver.
Yeah.
Receiver.
He is, and and that is the same energetically, but when it comes to like willpower or something and manifesting, and so there's an interesting, I highlighted a lot in this chapter because it was like, ooh, this is interesting too. Let's see. So, then it talks about how the majority of people are mere shadows and echoes of others that have stronger wills than them, and how these strong wills can be kind of pushed onto people that aren't in their masculine energy and aren't, and are kind of just receptive to it. They're like, well, let me follow the crowd, they're the sheep, so to speak. And then it says here, like, that the strong men and women of the world invariably manifest the masculine principle of will, right? So in an energetic state, willpower is masculine, whereas, receptivity.
Because it's a driving force.
Right, exactly. And that makes sense, when it just comes down to the themes of masculine, or, just masculine themes in general. Like, it's usually the driving force in several planes or several contexts, and let's see.
What I was just talking about with my Italian friend the other day? We're talking about the sun and the moon. And even though in English, we don't have like feminine and masculine, you know what I mean? But but still in spirituality, in general, we regard the sun as masculine, like solar energy is masculine energy, while moon is feminine, right?
Yeah.
On the tarot deck, the moon is kind of the subconscious mind, right? And it's so funny because in Italian and Spanish, they have it the right way, but in German they have it wrong for some reason. It's La Luna and El Sol, Spanish.
Yeah, which are masculine and feminine.
Yeah, but also in French, Italian, like La Lune. Is it Le Soleil? But in German has it the other way for some reason. It's so weird. It's der Mond or die Sonne. D is feminine. They have it twisted, but I don't know why my mind just went there. But
that's interesting.
It's kind of cool because since we're talking about the universe, I was just thinking about the sun and the moon and solar energy and moon energy.
That's interesting because I mean, it could be, I feel like that's a different topic, but it could be flipped, I mean, Maybe the moon
I
is a
don't think
life.
the Germans makes much sense. All the other
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe I'm trying to
and
analyze it
again,
too
I
much.
was also, since we're talking about mental gender, the tarot deck, the moon and the subconscious mind, and the moon illusions
Yes.
of that.
Yeah. And the sun, provides life. Like it gives
Yes.
life to the universe, and things revolve around the sun. So almost in the grandest scheme, like the sun is the masculine life force of like creation, arguably. And then the moon, but the moon is just as important. The moon controls the waves. The moon has just that more maternal emotional characteristic to it. And I mean, I guess some people talk about the man on the moon, but I guess that's a little bit besides the point or irrelevant. But yeah, it's that balance, the night and the dark. I mean, the light and the dark, the night and the day, and the masculine and the feminine. um and I wanted to, there's another thing, but I don't know. It's really just interesting that in this chapter on mental gender, because it talks about how the average person, like how few original thoughts or original actions are performed by the average person. And this is like that most people aren't in tune with like their willpowers, and therefore become comfortable or complacent and more sheep like. And it says here, like, this is why the masses of people are sheep like creatures, never originating an idea of their own nor using their own powers of mental activity, because they're almost okay with their minds being dominated by other people's wills.
Yes.
And yeah, and if you don't have any of that masculine energy or that willpower in your own mind, then of course you're going to be easily susceptible. It's almost like, for lack of a better example, it's almost like not wearing protection when you have like when you have sex. Like, you're more likely to get pregnant, you're more likely to get have a baby or whatever. And in this, it's like, if you don't have your own willpowers or involved in your own masculine energy, then you're just more receptive to that around you. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but
I think it is a bad thing. I think this really
yeah.
most like, as us that are
I
in
mean,
spirituality, we recognize our own power and we see ourselves as that we have, even if we believe in God, we believe that God's energy is within us and that we are God as well, or he's part of it, whatever. But
right.
but bottom line, that we are the creators of our own reality. But most people don't live their lives that way. Most people live their lives in this passive way where, and this is exactly what you read, they're being dominated by almost, it's like they're swimming with the tide, but they're not really taking control.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
most people really don't create their own reality. They're really like, they're just passive and it's just whatever is the outcome. And it's actually really sad, even though there's somewhat of an awakening going on right now in the world, I believe, and so many people, for example, like manifestation is becoming mainstream, which I'm glad, it should be. People should be recognizing their own power. But also what it reminds me of, I'm a big fan of John Crater's books. And have you read any of his books?
I don't think so.
Did I tell you that it's kind of a crazy story? He has several books, they're manifestation books, but they're on like a whole nother level. And he's talking about that, but he's a bit out there, like he's saying that like humans are dominated by an alien force, which is a bit.
I think I do remember you talking about this. Yeah.
Yeah. But the crazy story is that one of his books bought itself. And yes.
Wait, what? One of his books bought itself.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I didn't buy it. I was on my Amazon and then I got an email. Thank you for your.
Oh, like for you personally? Okay. Yeah.
And I was like, what? And I mean, it was a book about manifesting. I was like, a book of manifesting buys itself, and I did not.
Like maybe you should
I
read
was
that.
consciously on Amazon, and while I'm scrolling, I suddenly get this email and notification. I'm like, this is crazy, but hey, the universe wants me to read this book. But yeah, he talks about this a lot, out of like separating yourself, basically like unplugging yourself out of the matrix and creating your own reality, and how most other people are plugged into the, he doesn't call it matrix though. I'm just using that word because that's basically what he means, that most people are just so plugged into something, and that you aren't creating your own reality. You're just like swimming with the flow, but you're not creating. But he tells you how to unplug yourself and then take control, and that goes back to the willpower thing. So
yes, and people are so easily influenced by what's on their phones, you know. I mean, and the ones that are in charge know that, because they know how they can control all these people. And you know, there's to get back to like the magnetic and electric energies too, it says like the magnetic persons are those that are able to use their masculine principles in the way of impressing their ideas upon others. You know, like the actor who makes people weep or cry as he wills is employing this principle. And so is like the successful orator, statesman, preacher, writer, or other people who are before public attention, you know. And then let's see. And then it says, in this principle lies the secret of personal magnetism, personal influence, fascination, etc., as well as the phenomenon generally grouped under the name of hypnotism. So it's basically hypnosis, you know, a strong enough willpower applied onto weaker ones.
yes,
It's just like a pull without any resistance, you know, like they're gonna get in, they're gonna get hypnotized or whatever, you know. And
I mean, even marketing, you know, and today's world, we're suddenly influenced by like all these marketing messages, but that's really what it is. Marketing is based on influencing the masses, and one is like the puppet master, the marketer. That sounds so. I don't mean it in a negative way, but you know, it's the person who's behind the campaign.
Exactly. And I
putting
feel
their
like
influence on everyone, you know.
And I feel like it's almost so powerful, without getting like it's controversial or anything. I feel like it's almost so powerful now, like how much influence they have, where they can almost like impress new interests on you without being aware of it, you know. And then you're like, oh, cool, you know, let me check this out, when really like you wouldn't have even gotten there by yourself ever, maybe, if without this, you know, this stronger masculine force. And not meaning, you know, like a stronger male person, you know, but just that stronger masculine energy, you know, willing it into the masses, or into, you know, people specifically. And you know, as I just like, I'm not very old, you know, but as I get older and just live life more and like travel, I hope that I'm wrong in the amount of people that I feel are just so, are you know, are these sheep, for lack of a better word, you know, like are just and I don't like to use the term like woke and not woke, because I feel like that's just super like
it's too
trendy
political.
yeah, but you know, and it's not even to say that they're not woke, it's just that they don't even care, you know, like they're just like comfortable in their scrolling, you know, like how people get sucked into TikTok for 3 hours, you know, like I hate TikTok. Like, I mean, yeah, it's great for marketing things if you need it, but like, as a I'm already on other social media enough. I don't need something to take 3 hours out of my day.
I hate TikTok, but I'm too old, you know. I'm not, even though a lot of like celebrities and like people even in their 40s are on, like it's actually, I mean, the majority of users are really teens. And I didn't even understand TikTok. I downloaded it, made an account, and I'm like, I don't understand this. I must be too old for this crap, you know.
Yeah, my TikTok is on there, but it's literally says like in my caption, I think says something like on here, but not really. And all I have is like a link to my YouTube channel. So I have no posts on there. Like, I never get on there because like I don't care. And all
No,
my
I'm
friends,
not feeling it either. I'm not enjoying it either to like
yeah.
scroll.
And like all my friends that are on it, just talk about how they literally spend 3 hours on it
God.
anytime they get on. And I'm just like, I can't afford, I already struggle with time management enough as it is.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't need something to take 3 hours out of my day. But anyways, it's just but it goes back. I mean, the creators of TikTok knew what they were doing. I mean, must have known what they were doing in order to create this platform that has literally just absorbed like so many people. It's so influential. And
Yeah, and also, yeah, sorry.
no, go ahead. Yeah.
This has nothing to do with anything spiritual, but the way it was created is it's just feeding. And listen, we all have ADD at this point, with our attention span being so short. And this is just supportive of that because all these short videos. And if you don't
Right.
like they're already super short, and then if you don't like within 2 seconds, you just keep scrolling. It just makes our ADD that we all already have if we're on social media just worse because it's like the shortest attention span is being supported.
It really does. Oh man. I kind of actually have to kind of end here soon, but
Yeah, me too.
so yeah. So, but I mean just to I don't know, here's like a good thing to close out on, I guess. So it says the student may acquaint himself with these matters of mental gender, and by using the theory of mental gender, he will be able to bring order out of the chaos of conflicting theory and teachings, and may, moreover, readily make himself a master of the subject if he be so inclined. Just with the awareness of this, it can be very influential to oneself and just, in life and in your own manifestation techniques, because if we realize like, oh, I'm in my more feminine energy today, then we become more susceptible. And not to say that feminine is bad, like sometimes we need to be in our feminine energy, but that's not where the manifesting takes place. But at the same time, it's not, the masculine can't do it without the feminine side. So
For sure.
goes hand in,
Balance.
yeah. But is there anything that you would like to kind of add on to this kind of as we end here?
No, I think we got
Okay.
it covered. So
Cool.
yeah, we will catch up soon. I don't know if we want to do like a summary of the rebellion or a different book.
Yeah.
The Untitled Chapter maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would actually love to do that too. Or there's that Hermetic Axioms chapter. We can talk about it. We'll figure out something. This isn't the last podcast. It's just
Okay. But let me just cut this here. So
okay.
we see you,
Thank you guys
very soon, and thank you for listening, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and subscribe to both of our channels.
Yes.
See
Yeah.
you in the next one.